The United States government is toying around with two new stimulus proposals. One will give every American $2,000 a month until this whole crisis is over, and the other will give every American $1,200. That's why in this video, I'm going to be going over what these proposals are and what they will cost you. What's up, everybody? I am Jaspreet Singh and welcome to the Minority Mindset. In 2008, the United States government passed a $700 billion stimulus bill, and people thought that the government had lost its mind. In March of 2020, the United States government said, "Hold my guac," when they passed a historic $2.2 trillion stimulus bill. And now, in May of 2020, the United States government said that we were just warming up because they have just proposed another historic $3 trillion stimulus bill. Holy guacamole. Yeah, you can say that again. But that's not all, because there's a second proposal being discussed that would give pretty much every American a $2,000 check every single month until this crisis is over. Well, what they don't tell you is that there's a cost to printing all this money. That's why in this video, I'm going to be going over the stimulus proposals, how they work, and how they will cost you. So make sure you watch this video until the end, because you want to make sure you come out of this crisis a financial winner. But before we get into that, hit that thumbs up button below, because if you don't, then YouTube doesn't share our video with anybody else. Subscribe to the Minority Mindset YouTube channel. That way you don't miss our new financial education videos every single week. And hit that little notification bell too, because if you don't, then YouTube won't let you know when our new videos are released. The United States Congress is broken up into two parts: the House and the Senate, and these are the people that are creating your stimulus plans. After a proposal gets approved by the House and the Senate, then it goes over to the President for final approval before it goes into action. There are two proposals floating around right now, one in the House and one in the Senate. The House proposed a stimulus bill called I need to look at my notes for this because I keep getting it wrong. It's called the Health and Economic Recovery Omnibus Emergency Solutions Act. That's a mouthful, but thankfully they gave this solution an acronym called the HEREOs Act. While this HEREOs Act has a big name, it has an even bigger price tag. This HEREOs Act will cost more than, are you ready? $3 trillion. Shut the front door! Under this plan, the government would send out another $1,200 check to all Americans, but this time they want more people to get the stimulus check, so they raise the income requirement threshold to $112,500. So if you make under $112,500, you will get some sort of stimulus check. This HEREOs bill will also send you another $1,200 check for each kid or dependent that you have. That's more than 2 times what they were paying before in the previous stimulus bill, which paid out $500 per kid or dependent that you had. This HEREOs Act will also take the federal unemployment program that is currently paying Americans $600 a week if they're unemployed, and they will extend this program, which is supposed to end in July, and extend it to the end of January 2021. So it will add another 6 months or so to this unemployment program. And this HEREOs bill is also putting aside $200 billion to pay for childcare and daycare for essential workers. Add all these expenses up and you have a price tag of over $3 trillion. But that's not all, because the other side of Congress, the Senate, has their own bill as well. The second bill in the Senate is called the Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act, which doesn't have a cool acronym like the CARES Act or the HEREOs Act, so I'm just gonna call this the Senate bill. This Senate bill is simple. Give $2,000 a month to all US residents and up to 3 kids. So if you're married, you will get $2,000 a month, your spouse will get $2,000 a month, which adds up to $4,000 a month, and then if you have kids, you will get $2,000 a month per kid, up to 3 kids. Man, I really need to get me some kids. So if you're calculating this in your mind right now, that means that if you're married and have 3 kids, you could potentially make $10,000 a month from this bill. And yes, that's like double the median US wage. Man, when I get my free money, I'm never gonna have to worry about paying for extra guac again. Hold that thought. I'll get to the cost of this in a minute. This bill also says that if you owe any money to a debt collector, this debt collector cannot touch any of your $2,000 monthly payments. Plus, this bill also says that Americans will get retroactive payments, which means if this bill were to get passed in June, then you will also get your March payment, your April payment, your May payment, in addition to your June payment. So hypothetically speaking, if you are married and you have 3 kids and this bill were to pass in June, then you would get a $40,000 check from the government in June, plus another $10,000 a month until this crisis ends. The only caveat in this bill is that in order to qualify, you have to make under $100,000 a year. So that really sucks for the people who make $105,000 a year. Hey, boss, how you doing? Listen, I know I asked for a raise last year, but listen, I don't think I deserve it. Could you just cut my salary in half? So these are the 2 proposals out there right now. And if you are having a tough time trying to digest these proposals, well, you're not alone, and just understand that these are just proposals and they haven't been passed yet. If you go back to the HEREOs Act, the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said that there's no way that this bill would get passed as it is, and the president said that this bill was DOA, dead on arrival. As for the Senate bill that would pay Americans $2,000 a month, well, many people say that it will not get passed just because of the sheer cost of this bill. I mean, the Senate bill entails sending up to $10,000 a month to 90% of America. Now, while these exact bills might not get passed, something probably will get passed, and the issue is all this free money isn't actually free. It comes with a hefty price tag that you, taxpayers, have to pay for. Come on, Jaspreet, just put it on my grandkids tab. Remember, the government gets their money to run their activities and pay these stimulus bills through taxpayers with tax dollars. And the government doesn't have trillions of dollars just laying around somewhere. See, the government isn't very good with their money. In fact, the government's kind of like a high school kid running around the mall with a no-limit credit card. I mean, you can buy as many Gucci scarves as you want, but eventually, someone's gonna have to pay for the bill. In 2019, the United States government spent almost $1 trillion more than what they generated through taxes. And now, in 2020, the United States government is on track to spend trillions of dollars more than they will make in taxes because they have much higher costs because of these stimulus plans, and they will have lower revenue because people are making less money, so they will pay less money in taxes. Well, to fill this deficit, we have the Federal Reserve Bank, who's very eager to use their money printing machine. The Federal Reserve Bank has a special power that allows them to work with the United States Treasury Department to print pretty much an unlimited amount of money. So the Fed and the Treasury Department can print as much money as they want, and then they will loan this money to the government. That way the government has money to fund these stimulus programs. But the government will have to pay this money back plus interest, and that's where your tax dollars are gonna get hurt, even if you don't qualify for a stimulus check. So at the very least, you can expect that your tax dollars and maybe your kids' tax dollars and maybe even your grandkids' tax dollars will be used to pay off old debts instead of actually using these tax dollars for things that we would actually like to see. These added costs could push up our tax rates in the future, which is really bad for people who have IRAs and 401ks that are going to be taxed when they pull their money out. And you can expect inflation to slowly creep up on us and kick the majority of people in the you-know-what once this pandemic all goes away. The thing that's really interesting to me is how people think that printing money and giving it to people is going to make people richer. I mean, almost half of Americans are making more money in unemployment than they did when they were working a job. That has its own economic consequences, but I'll save that for a later video. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you do that. But what you have to understand is that this paper money is just our currency. $100 today doesn't have the same buying power as $100 did when your parents were your age, and it doesn't have the same buying power as $100 did when your grandparents were your age. Back when your grandparents were your age, $100 could buy you 7 to 10 times more than it can today. Want to know why? It's because when more dollars are printed, then the value or buying power that each individual dollar has comes down. Think of it this way. Me, you, and 98 other people, so 100 people total, are living together in this new world where there are only $100 total in existence, and you have $1, I have $1, and all 98 other people have $1. Right now, you own 1% of the world's wealth or buying power or currency or whatever you want to call it, and you feel pretty good about yourself because you got a whole dollar. Well, what would happen if suddenly the government prints another $100 and then they send you another $1 bill, and they send me another $1 bill, and they send everybody else another $1 bill? At first you feel rich because, well, you used to have $1, but now you have $2. But it won't be long before you realize that you're no wealthier than you were before because, yeah, you had $1 when there were only $100 out there, but now you have $2 when there are $200 out there, so you still only own 1% of the world's wealth or buying power or currency. Well, nothing really changed and no one really got wealthier than they were before because the only difference is everybody just doubled the amount of dollars that they have. And so now, to combat this dilution of the value of your dollars, what you'll see happen is the cars that used to sell for 25 cents will now sell for 50 cents. And the homes that used to sell for $1 will now sell for $2. So while you felt richer when you first got the money, you realize that nothing has really changed because you still only have 1% of the world's buying power or currency or whatever you want to call it. And the price of everything else had to double to make up for these extra dollars out there. That's how it works in theory, but now in reality, we have to factor in one more thing: the lack of financial education that we have as a society. Let's run through this. The government and the Fed go out and they print trillions of dollars, and then they take these trillions of dollars and they hand it out to 90% of Americans. And now 90% of Americans got all this extra cash, and what do? They go to Amazon and they start shopping. They go to their bank and they get a loan so they can buy a new home or they can buy a new car, or they go to the Gucci store. Yo, Bunty, the government give you your bonus check yet? Alright, meet me at the spot. Look, I'm not trying to be mean. The reality is we as a society were never given any financial education. So when the majority of people get this extra cash, what do? They spend it. And interestingly enough, that's exactly what the government wants to happen. They want people to spend this money, that way you can stimulate the economy. But now let's think of the consequences of that practically. The government and the Federal Reserve Bank work to print all this money, which creates a bigger pool of dollars out there, and then they hand it out to people. And now people get this free money and then they spend it. And so now this money flows to the top few percent of people who understand money. And now the average American is poorer than they were before because we have this bigger concentration of wealth up here at the top because now there's more dollars up here. Now on top of that, you have to factor in inflation because there are more dollars out there. And so that means that each dollar that people have saved up is going to be worth a little bit less. And each dollar that people work so hard to earn is going to have a little bit less buying power. So this money gets handed out and people feel richer for a little while. But eventually this money starts to flow, and it flows to the people who understand money. And now the majority of people are left with less percentage of dollars out there because remember, there are more dollars out there and they get concentrated at the top when people spend all their money. And on top of that, the dollars that people do have now have less buying power and less value than they did before. This is why financial education is so important, because financial education is what teaches people to spend money on themselves first. And I don't mean at the Gucci store. I mean spending your money on things that will actually make you wealthier with investments and assets instead of just spending your money on things. And that also means that you're saving your money the right way. That way you have cash and you are using your money to build your own wealth instead of making everybody else around you rich. I don't know which bills are going to get passed yet. I'll keep you updated on our YouTube channel as we learn more information. But regardless, this is why you have to understand how to use your money the right way, because if you don't, then you will be the one paying the price. Literally. And if you are looking for an easy way to up your financial education, well, that's why we wrote a free ebook on money management and investing that you can read for free when you sign up for our financial education emails, which are also free. You can get our free ebook and our financial education emails by clicking the link up here or by clicking the link in the description below. By the way, our financial education emails are different from our financial news emails. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, share it with one friend, that way we can help spread the word. If you want to learn more about what you should be buying to build wealth during this 2020 crisis, I already made a video on it, and you can watch this video on YouTube by clicking this button right over here. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.